Welcome to Supertalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. YouTube, welcome to the Thor episode. Let's go. Mjolnir. I've missed you.
She's stolen my hammer and my look.
Professor, as always, you're a gentleman, as you know. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
In 3.
Welcome to Supertalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 78. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanium.
Professor!
Got a feeling.
Deja vu?
Yeah, it's like, man, we just did an episode or something. I don't know.
We're pumping them out back to back this
Let's
week.
go.
We're pumping them up back to back.
We got a lot of good stuff to get into.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I think we're going to have a lot more fun talking about this content today than some of the content we just got.
Are you talking about the sleeper Miss Marvel? Absolutely fell asleep.
Yeah, if you're not watching Ms. Marvel,
Good for
you're
you.
amongst a lot of people out there that are not watching Ms. Marvel.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's get into it. Before we do, we want to thank the listeners that bring the show to you. Those are our patrons. Patreon.com/Supertalk is how you become a patron of the show. All you need to do is donate $1 per episode, and then you help deliver this content to the wonderful boys and girls and men and women out there who are taking it in. So to become a patron, go to patreon.com/Supertalk, and thank you for those patrons out there who are doing that already. All right.
Yeah, come on, people. I want to send a bag of swag to you, so get on board with the program.
We got gift bags that we're ready to deliver on a moment's notice.
The keychains are in, baby. The keychains are spectacular.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's exciting. All right, well, let's get into it. We're going to jump right into the news this week. We got a ton of news items to cover that have happened here since our last episode. First and foremost, I don't know if you saw this, Titanium. Howard Stern accidentally leaked that he's working on a Doctor Doom project for Marvel this summer. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did. I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago or something like that.
No.
Did we mention it?
No.
Maybe it was just you and I talking personally off the air. But yeah, his mics were on, and
It's a hot mic situation. Hot mics. Hot mic situation.
Hot mic. And the mics were on, and he was talking to his people in the studio, and I guess they do it remotely, right? So he's in his house, Robin's in her house, and they're all over the place, and they were talking, and he was talking about scheduling some guests, and they were talking about guests that were oncoming, scheduling stuff. He said, I got the Doctor Doom thing, and it's going to suck, and
I really don't want to do it, but I've already signed up for this Doctor Doom project this summer.
Yeah.
I got Doctor Doom.
If anything, I think Doctor Doom... I was talking to Greg Vire about this. If anything, I think it'd be the worst casting Marvel has ever done.
No. I don't think he's saying he's playing Doctor Doom.
No, I agree with you, but I think people assume that he's playing Doctor Doom. That's what's out there.
That's horrible.
It'd be the worst casting Marvel has ever done. I don't think it's true whatsoever. If anything, he might be in the movie at an ancillary
I don't
role.
know if it's a movie, so let's slow down a little bit.
Well, okay, even if it's not a movie, but he's in the project somewhat in the project.
I think he's playing himself.
That would be fine. I think that'd be foolish.
I do believe he has been cast in some role in the Doctor Doom project. Now, again, there's been no official announcement from Marvel. That's why this was such a big leak, is because he basically accidentally leaked to the public that he was working on a Doctor Doom project with Marvel this summer. He did never say, I'm playing Doctor Doom. He did never say...
He knows how to play the media. He knows how to play social media. He is a master at this. I think it's a publicity stunt. Worst case scenario is he's in the project but plays a separate role.
Yeah, I honestly, I think he's probably playing himself. I think he is interviewing Victor Von Doom on the Howard Stern show or something, and that's something that happens in the production. And again, we have no announcements from Marvel.
You think it's a movie, or
I think it's a Disney Plus
show?
Yeah, I think it's a Disney Plus show.
Why would they bring one of the biggest villains behind Thanos Galactus? Why would they bring that into a Disney Plus show?
Because I think one of the things that, and my son Charlie and I were talking about this after the Thor movie last night. I think one of the things that Marvel has struggled with, or will continue to struggle with, is developing relevant bad guys that give the heroes a reason to band together and fight against them. And we actually did this on the ride home. We went through all of the we'll say the villains in each movie project that Marvel has had. And there have been some really good ones.
Yeah.
Like, Loki and Ultron and Thanos and Gorr, which we'll talk about.
Butcher, yeah.
Some very good villains.
Yep.
And there's been some not so very good villains.
Agree.
Very weak ones, as a matter of fact. Yep. Like Malekith in Thor the Dark World was just like horrible. One of the reasons why the movie was so bad is because the villains in that movie weren't really compelling.
Didn't feel for the villain.
And it wasn't anything anybody had any familiarity with.
Yeah. And
I think what Marvel might do, and I think it actually will be brilliant. You and I talked about this at length when we reviewed the Black Adam trailer.
Yeah, it's the Black Adam effect.
Right. Yeah. In that we felt that they're coming out with the Black Adam movie, and it looks like to us the trailer is telling us that it's really a anti-hero story from the beginning. That they've taken this really, really bad character from comic book history.
Not a bad character, but a bad man.
Bad person. A villain. Who the teams have had to fight against multiple times. And they're giving this person their own movie and making it... So in the movie, he goes through a redemption arc and realizes, oh, I've got good in me and I can do good things.
So quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Again, that was one of the big problems I had with the Venom, the Tom Hardy Venom movies. Is like, look, this is a bad character. Why are you making him good? I feel one of the best things Marvel can do is richly develop bad characters and expose them to us, the audience, before that character becomes the subject of a movie or a team event or something like Secret Wars. Understand what that character is, why he's bad, why he is the way he is, and really kind of put him in our face. And I think that that's a great thing. People forget, before we had Infinity War, we had been introduced to Thanos several times before we got to Infinity War. Several times. And credit scenes. We saw him in the original Avengers movie. We saw
Guardians
him
in the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. We saw him several times, and I think that we developed and established how bad this person was. And I think doing a Disney Plus series and introducing the world, who may have forgotten who Victor Von Doom is, why he is who he is, how he got his powers, how he got Latveria or whatever it might be, that they're kind of establish that.
Yeah.
And then give the teams and the heroes a reason to fight against this person. I think it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars took 3 fucking movies to show you that Darth Vader was a bad guy. The first 3 movies, and then you find out that he's redeemed himself at the very, very end. But still, for them to turn Black Adam so quickly into this, if he's going to be an anti-hero, that's fine. But make him a bad dude. That's why Loki and anything he's in is so popular. It's because people believe he's a bad dude trying to be good. But, I'm worried about Black Adam now. But I think Dr. Doom needs his own feature film. And okay, put him on Disney Plus for 7 episodes. But don't make him good. No. Make sure you...
I don't think they will. But I do think, and again, we, the comic book readers, people who know this history a little bit,
he's an important figure, is he not?
He's one of the biggest bad guys in Marvel Comics history, but he's also instrumental in where we think Marvel is going in their next phase, and that's where we think Secret Wars. Yeah. He is one of the reasons why Secret Wars happens.
Right.
And so to establish that character whether it's in his own 2-hour movie or whether it's in a 6-episode limited series on Disney Plus, I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
And again, this is kind of, this was a big leak when it happened. I think we're going to get some big announcements from Marvel at Comic-Con in a couple of weeks. We're going to get some even more bigger announcements from them at D23. I think this is just... They're hinting at a lot of things have come out here in the last couple of weeks. Are making us feel like, okay, they haven't come out and told us anything.
Yeah.
And leaks are happening, and I think the way you quell and quash some of these leaks is just come out and make announcements. And I think that's going to happen.
In Comic-Con.
Right.
The one in San Diego. Yeah.
Right. We did, though, get a first look at some of the costumes for some of the characters in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie, right? We got first look at Namor's costume, both his normal costume as well as his ceremonial costume, which has got the jaguar headpiece, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And then we got a Tum, which is he's an Atlantean, so he's got blue skin and everything else. Very cool concept, and that's all. As you mentioned earlier, they're taking influence from both Aztec and Mayan history, and looking at the Aztec and Mayan pantheon of gods as kind of an influence there. I love what they're doing with it. Yeah. I think it's such a contrast to what they did with Wakanda and really basing it on a lot of African history. This is really based on Central American and South American history. Yeah. I think it's fantastic.
That's good. Because you're a comic book truist. You are, and so am I to some points. And that's the reason why I'm not a big fan of Miss Marvel. And I think they missed the mark on Miss Marvel because of this. But with Namor becoming, changing his whole background to like a South American cultural background and a Mayan Aztec kind of vibe.
Central American, right?
Yeah. Do you think that that's going to depart that much?
I think they were forced to do it, and we've talked about this
because of Aquaman.
Yeah, and I think they had,
distinguish themselves from the Aquaman.
Yeah, Namor was a character in the comics way before Aquaman was ever created.
Yes,
and DC kind of stole that concept and created Aquaman based on Namor. It's kind of like an antithesis to him on the DC side. However, we've seen Aquaman now in several movies on the DC side.
Yeah.
And we've been introduced to this character, and Jason Momoa did a great job with it.
Awesome.
And we got, in the first Aquaman movie, we learned about Atlantis and his background and history and everything else. You can't create an exact identical character to that one on the Marvel side and expect the audience, is this Aquaman?
Yeah.
No. It's Namor. It's different. Why? And I think they had to do this, and I think what they're doing is brilliant.
Yeah,
I think it's brilliant, and I embrace it. I think it's fantastic.
I do too. It's the one time, the deviation from the comic, the one time that they are going to separate themselves from DC and deviate from Marvel Comics that I am absolutely all on board with. Characters look amazing. The actors that they've hired to play these characters are top notch. I cannot wait for this movie. I think it's going to be do really
well. And
really
you said
well.
I got a first look at Riri Williams' first kind of Mark 1 armor that she creates,
and
right?
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's clunky and badass. I mean, it's not as clunky, obviously, as Iron Man.
Stark's. Well, she's also basing it on a lot of Tony Stark's designs and
his technology.
Right.
It looks. I thought it looked amazing. Like you know what? If I was a college kid, if you would imagine this brilliant college kid creating a suit like this is what they would come up with. I think it looks amazing.
Well, and I think that they're we don't know much about the plot of Black Panther Wakanda Forever yet.
We have our own theories.
We're hoping to get a trailer for that very soon.
We thought we were going to get one at Thor, right?
Yeah, we thought it would come in front of Thor. I do believe now that we're either going to get it at Comic-Con
I think so too.
right before. I think that's going to be the big reveal.
That's going to be.
I think they're going to have like the.
It's in the can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I think we're going to get that then. But I think what we can surmise a little bit is that Riri Williams at MIT does something to disturb or upset what's going on in Atlantis, and that's what brings them out, and something happened. So we don't know anything yet, but I think we're going to get some more of that story as the trailer comes out. I'm very excited about this movie simply because of them introducing Namor and the Atlanteans in it as kind of I don't know how they're going to be perceived. So I'm really excited about it because of that.
A lot of mystery behind it.
Yeah, so that'll be great. Look, your friends over at Goodr Sunglasses came out with a new line for Thor Love and Thunder, right? They got the Thor Love and Thunder edition of the Goodr Sunglasses, right?
Well, first they signed, I believe, a contract with Marvel in order to do a lot of Marvel glasses. They had DC, but now they've come out with a bunch of Marvel glasses that are crazy cool. And now they just came out with a couple of glasses for Thor Love and Thunder that are really badass too. So yeah, I'm hoping to get Mike Mountain, who is upper management there at Goodr, hoping to get him on a Zoom podcast for us. So stay tuned for
renew
that.
your Zoom license, though, right?
I do, yeah. Especially since we're going to be vacationing here. Sorry, folks, we're going to be pushing a couple of Zoom episodes out soon.
Yeah, so that's really exciting news for them. I'm glad they got a Marvel license. That the Goodr.
If you haven't checked out Goodr sunglasses, go grab a pair.
Look,
They're awesome.
What I'm going to tell you is we use them on the boat, at the beach, riding our bikes. They're fantastic. The quality for the price and the fact they don't slip down your face when you're sweating is just amazing.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
go check them out. Again, if you're into Marvel themed items, and you want a good pair of sunglasses at the same time, it was like $25,
Yeah,
right?
$25.
Yeah, there you go. Go check them out. Goodr, I think it's GOODR.com, right?
Yep, exactly.
Go check them out. Look, there's been rumors flying everywhere, which is why I think, again, Comic-Con and D23 are going to be off the charts. There's been so many casting rumors, and we're going to talk about several of them here, that some of them have to be officially announced because there's just so much going on. Look,
I just read this, what you put in the notes. I haven't seen this whatsoever. I haven't even heard of this rumor, which is unusual for Titanium because I'm a dark web sleeper. But reading this, and by the way, just for the record, Smoke Show and huge bromance.
well, let's get into it. So,
Huge bromance on this guy.
Ryan Gosling is now rumored to be joining the MCU
Smoke Show.
in a project that will begin filming soon. Again, this is anything that doesn't come from Marvel, you kind of have to like
Grain of salt.
you got to take it until Marvel comes out with an official announcement. But these announcements usually come from industry insiders or trades, or casting announcements from third parties and agencies and things like that. Look, so they're not like completely unreliable sources. This is not like Reddit,
Yeah.
or 4chan or something like that. This is a legitimate source, and they're saying Ryan Gosling has been cast in a role at the MCU in a project that is filming shortly. The big rumor out there is that he will be playing Richard Rider's Nova. We did kind of get some early looks at the early announcements from Marvel about a Nova Disney Plus show coming.
Yeah, they hired a director, right? Or writers already.
Right, and
the
so
Moon Knight guys.
you got to cast the person, and if you're going to start filming soon,
if they got that, that's a huge get for Marvel.
That is
but
enormous.
Kind of par for the course, right?
Right.
But this guy is.
Look, no official announcements that he's been cast in a role and what role he's playing, but that's kind of the rumor out there.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and we can't wait to hear. So again, another big one. So this was a dark web 4chan leak. So again, I don't want to bring any credence to this, but there have been leaks that have come out on 4chan before that were true.
That's
so
true.
What I'm saying
That's
is
true.
that I like talking about these rumors because not saying that there's no validity to them, but if they are true and they become true, wow.
Yeah.
And so we got to. So the rumor here is
typically when the rumors hit, you'll have a tremendous amount of people come in and debunk it, or they'll say that's not true. They'll have a lot of fight. But this one, it kind of slid in there and it kept on kind of gaining momentum. So. Go ahead, Professor.
The rumor that Jason Segel, so everybody might know Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother, but the main
comedic,
star, more of a comedic actor, has been cast as Ben Grimm, the Thing, for the Fantastic Four. So that's obviously where we will expect to see him. But the other part of the rumor, which if it's true, I can't wait, is that he will appear in the She-Hulk series on Disney Plus. It starts August 15th. The rumor says that he will be in the latter half of the season, in one of the latter episodes. She will be representing She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters will be representing Ben Grimm in court, and both the Thing and She-Hulk will be fighting against the Wrecking Crew together in the last couple of episodes of the show.
Wow.
If this is true, number one, what a great way to introduce Ben Grimm into the MCU.
Agree.
What a great way to introduce the Thing in the MCU. What a great way to use this character. Jason Segel, I think, would be a
big
home
dude
run.
too. Yeah, he's like 6 something.
Well, and Ben Grimm, the character, is funny. He does have a sense of humor. He just happens to be a huge dude that's made out of rock, you know? But he is a funny guy, and he does have some comedic, tones to him. And Jason Segel could pull this off.
Oh, yeah.
And it's mostly CGI anyway, so who cares what, what the person, ultimately looks like. It doesn't have to be a big, huge, hulking person. It's mostly CGI. But this would be a huge get, and I love it. I love the casting.
Yeah, me too. I think it's awesome. And do you think we'll hear the rest of the casting at Comic-Con?
I think that's what this leak tells me. This leak tells me that a couple of things. We have heard previously in previous rumors that Marvel was planning to announce the cast of the Fantastic Four at Comic-Con this year. Then there were rumors they weren't going to go to Comic-Con. Then they officially announced we are going to Comic-Con and we're doing a Hall H. I think they will be announcing the cast for the Fantastic Four. They will be announcing a director of the movie, and they will be announcing a release date for that movie at Comic-Con this year. And because of this, if this is true, it makes so much sense, because if you announce this in late July and She-Hulk starts mid-August, and then the Thing shows up at the middle of September or near the end of the run,
right,
makes all the sense in the world from a timing perspective, right? So, yes, I do think they're going to announce the cast. We talked about I think in episode 76, we talked about a couple of other casting rumors for the Human Torch and the Invisible Woman.
Yeah.
My son last night said, "Oh my God, if that guy's playing the Human Torch, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Oh my God, I hope
so." The kid
so."
from Outer Banks.
Outer Banks, yeah. So anyway, that would be fantastic. I look, if Jason Segel, I think it's the perfect guy to play that role. There were other rumors out there. I think this one, if it's true, I'm happy with. I think it'd be a good casting.
Great casting.
There was a New York Times interview with Taron Egerton. So we know Taron Egerton had met with Marvel. There were many rumors months ago that you and I have talked about.
He played Elton John. He was also in The Kingsman. He's the lead guy in The Kingsman.
Right. Very familiar actor. Been in several things. We know he had met with Marvel, because that had been reported.
Yeah.
He had an interview with the New York Times where he came out in that interview and stated that in his meeting with Kevin Feige, he expressed his desire to play the Wolverine character and replace Hugh Jackman in that role. And in the interview, he said, "Look, I don't know if it's going to happen. I hope they give me the chance. It's something I would love to do, and it's something I dream of playing." So he is openly campaigning for that role.
Wow.
I think that would be a great casting.
Me too. I
good actor,
well
known,
actor, young,
right?
Could be that role and play that role for several upcoming years. Great.
I think it'd be great. And he's openly lobbying to play the character, and said he's met with Kevin Feige and he's talked, and he said, "I don't know if it's going to happen. Good Lord, gives me the opportunity, I'll take it and run with it."
I'd love that cast.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Love that cast.
That would be a home run.
And the fact that he wants to step into those shoes is a home run anyway. Because think about it.
Well, and he openly admitted, he said, how do you follow up somebody who just did as well as they did? He said, I can't replace Hugh Jackman. I can just bring what I want to bring to the role and hopefully do as good a job as he did.
Great casting. I hope that comes to fruition.
Oh, that would be awesome. And again, they got to announce something about the X-Men coming up. They have to.
We've talked about this several times.
Yeah. It's sitting on the shelf.
Marvel is kind of stagnant right now. I mean, they're kind of, Miss Marvel is not a home run for them. It is an absolute abysmal kind of X blemish on their ledger, to be honest with you. But They're just kind of introducing these C-level, B-level characters, and they're just kind of floundering. It's not really, nothing's really kicking it out of the park. I mean, even Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, was great, but it wasn't something that people are like stunned, you know.
Next to Spider-Man, the X-Men and the X-Men comic books are the highest, most selling comic books in Marvel's history.
And then you're sitting on the Fantastic Four franchise. You're just sitting on it.
Yeah.
So they got to start doing something with these.
And I recently saw an interview with the Russo brothers. They've been working on a bunch of other projects. What's the project they're working on? Gray Man, right? That there's like a
Ryan Gosling,
right.
Netflix show called The Gray Man.
Gray Man.
Yeah.
So they're working on that. But they were asked, you know, when would you come back for Marvel, and what would you come back for Marvel? And they asked him point blank, would you come back to do an a revival of the X-Men and revival Wolverine? And Joe Russo said, look, one of the most prized possessions I have in my entire life is Incredible Hulk 181, which is the original appearance of Wolverine. He says it's something that I treasure dearly. He said I would love nothing more than to work with the X-Men. He says, but you never know. We're not going to count our chickens. We love working those guys, but you never know what's going to happen. But
they also said they'd come back for Secret War, something that epic.
Yeah. But look, something's got to happen. You can't let a franchise. Look, I think the cooling off period since the last X-Men movie that Fox did, which was I won't count New Mutants because that was really not an X-Men movie, but the Dark Phoenix movie they did. Which was
better than it was a good movie.
New Mutants wasn't bad, but the Dark Phoenix movie wasn't really well received and was not very good. I think it's been 4 years, right? Yeah. Cooling off period since that came out. I think that was needed. It was necessary because if you're going to reboot the franchise and redo everything, you kind of want to let people kind of settle and say, okay, let's.
So you think it's best to bring them in sideways with little projects and then put something together?
I don't know what they're going to do. I'm hoping we will find out what they're going to do.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. What are you going to do? And we've always assumed that they may introduce a couple of mutant characters here and there in some of the movies that are coming out.
But they tippy-toed around it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Give us an announcement. Say something.
Yeah.
All right. The Disney just launched their brand new cruise ship, and it had been put on hold for a while because of COVID, but they did finally launched their brand new cruise ship called the Disney Wish. And the Disney Wish is their huge brand new cruise liner, and there's all this new content on the boat.
Yeah.
And there's an Avengers
custom content.
There's an Avengers themed dinner, so a dining experience, and one of the restaurants is an Avengers themed dining experience.
Yeah.
And they have some video clips and movies that they show during dinner. And some of those clips kind of gave some hints at some things we may be seeing coming forward. One was a very big clip with Ant-Man and the Wasp with your
Paul Rudd,
favorite actor, Paul Rudd. And he was saying, let me just
clarify things.
Let me just answer the big question in the room, right?
First of all, gross.
Right, yeah. Why didn't I shrink down and go up Thanos' butt, and first of all, gross. Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was very, very cool. But they also showed some clips that included Sam Wilson as Captain America.
Yeah.
Ms. Marvel in there, as well as Captain Marvel on a cruise ship, kind of like defending him against like the invasion of Ultron robots and things like that. So Ms. Marvel was part of that property, and so that leads me to believe that they do have a future for that character. Yeah. But
interesting pairing there, though.
Yeah, but the fact that they're starting to launch some. Again, these are Ms. Marvel and Sam Wilson's version of Captain America specifically have not had like big runs or big projects yet, and so to introduce them into like properties like the Disney Wish cruise ship is telling, you know, about what their future is with those characters, right?
And the sustainability of those characters. I mean, obviously, if they're going to put them on a cruise line type entertainment thing for a very long time, that thing's not going to be redone every cruise.
No,
that is telling.
Yep. We got some great announcements here recently that both Daredevil and Jessica Jones will be returning to the MCU in the Echo series that's coming out next year on Disney+.
As well as Kingpin.
And Kingpin as well.
Yes.
We assumed Kingpin was coming, but yes, we got confirmation that Daredevil and Jessica Jones will be coming back for the Echo series. We do believe Daredevil will be showing up in the She-Hulk series as well.
I agree.
Near the end of that show. And there's a chance that Jessica Jones may appear or at least maybe mentioned in that show as well. But those two characters, again, Kristen Ritter's version of Jessica Jones and Charlie Cox's version of Daredevil. Look, I mean, the entire theater erupted when we saw Charlie Cox in Spider-Man No Way Home. Look, we can't wait for him to come back as that character.
Absolutely.
And we already know that they have somewhat softly announced that the Daredevil Disney Plus revival is coming as a series as well. So we think that the Echo series is kind of a launching point for that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I really can't wait. Those guys are just so good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Echo now because I don't think
it's going to be an Echo show.
No, right. Exactly. You don't put a C-level character to hold a whole franchise, a whole show, a series together.
But if it's Echo and Daredevil and Jessica Jones against the
Kingpin, win.
Right. Another big announcement actually hit the wire today. This was a big announcement that came out today. Julius Ona, known for directing the Cloverfield Paradox, has been hired to direct Captain America 4, the Sam Wilson Captain America 4. No official announcements about... we believe this project's in what they call pre-production at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Has not started filming yet. But
they have a script?
They fired a director. That's all we know. So we don't know if there's a script or anything else yet. This is another project we may get some announcements about as far as timing and dates are concerned.
We know there's going to be a Captain America.
They've announced they've greenlit the project, yes. But now they've hired a director. So, yes, very, very, very big
That's
big
promising.
Deal.
Yeah, I'm excited for Comic-Con now. I think we're going to get...
There's just too many rumors floating around. Yeah. Marvel's got to get on stage and just either put rumors to rest or give us some details about what's coming up and what their plans are. Right?
Agree.
All right. Well, let's get into our topic of the week this week, brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios, home of the main corner of the car.
Yes.
Thank you, Studio G, for all the things you do for
Absolutely.
Supertalk.
Thank you, boys.
And go check them out. The link to their page is always in our show notes.
Always. We always add them and include them in everything we do.
All right. Before we get started, we're gonna do our full review of Thor Love and Thunder. Titanium and I went and saw this last night in the theaters. Before we get started, we're going to give a general spoiler warning. We will be talking about specific plot of the movie,
scenes,
specific things that happen, endings, end credit scenes. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to wait until you see the movie to hear our opinions, spoiler warnings right now. We'll just kind of throw that out there.
Spoiler warnings. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, here they come.
So, just give me first your overall impressions of the movie. I know we gave kind of our first reactions last night, but like overall, what did you think of the film as a whole?
I thought it was fun. It was more touching than I thought. It was more emotional than I thought. It really pulled on the heartstrings on several occasions, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more of a Thor Ragnarok kind of goofy, kind of fun team up kind of movie. And I thought it was on par with Thor Ragnarok. I had said last night, my first impressions, that I still thought Doctor Strange was better than this movie. And now in retrospect, looking back on the movie, I thought it was more impactful than I realized when I walked out of the theater. I thought it was very, very, like we had discussed, I think it's very important to moving forward in the story. You had said that is kind of closed out Phase 4. It's one of the last things that Phase 4 is doing, and I think that was important. Thor's such a great character, and I think he's so funny in these later movies, with Thor Ragnarok and this movie. He's very comical. He's more open. He's more emotional. He's more in touch with his emotions. He's not this rah, 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 rah He-Man. And I think that's important. We've really grown. This character has grown, and the character arc has grown. into this character. We beloved this character now, and I think that really comes through in this movie. You really fall in love with him even more so, and he's so endearing. If he had died in this movie, and he doesn't, by the way, if he had died in this movie, it would have been absolutely devastating for me and I think a lot of fans. But I really like this movie. I don't know where I would rank it yet. I'm kind of pondering that. I kind of looked at my list last night and I'm kind of pondering it, but I really like this movie. And I said it's on par with Thor Ragnarok because, World War Hulk and Planet Hulk are such a huge comic for me that I really liked. And the Gladiator Hulk thing was so impactful and so amazing. But this was a good movie.
I will say that this, look, if I had to give it a letter grade, I'd give it a B. It's not bad. It wasn't unwatchable. It wasn't unlikable. But it also wasn't like earth-moving, earth-changing, earth-shaking, extremely compelling. It was very entertaining.
Yes.
What I'll say. I enjoyed it. I will go watch it again.
I'll definitely see it again.
Yeah, it was very good. Look, I think partially our expectations of Marvel have been elevated so much. Look, they hit some massive home runs. Infinity War, massive home run. Endgame, massive home run. Black Panther, massive home run. Spider-Man No Way Home, massive home run. And they have garnered some massive
expectations.
Well, there's a lot of expectations, but there's also a lot of equity they've built with their audience. That they're like, well, we know Marvel does such a great job with casting and story development and directing and production value and everything else that we expect when we walk in there, they're going to be really good movies. And what I'll say is since Endgame, there have been a lot of B-level movies.
Yeah.
They're not bad. They're good. They're entertaining. But they're not great. They're not ones like... I think the only movie that's come out since Endgame came out that was an A-level movie, like an oh my god A, was...
Black Widow?
No. Spider-Man No Way Home. Black Widow was a C.
Yeah.
But, look, if I look at Shang-Chi, if I look at the Eternals...
B.
They're Bs.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them. I've watched them multiple times.
They're fun.
I thought they were fun. I liked them. Same thing with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It was a B movie. I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like earth shaking. Oh my God! Can you believe what happened?
Yeah. Like Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right. That was the exception there. Right. But here's what set this movie apart for me a little bit was I love the Thor character. Probably, if not my favorite character in the MCU right now. Right now. I mean, probably second to Spider-Man, but my favorite character in the MCU. Chris Hemsworth's portrayal of this character has been better and better and gotten better over the years.
Definitely.
And I really enjoy him as this character.
Yes.
I enjoy watching him as this character. I feel invested in him as a character, which is one of the reasons why I was so looking forward to this movie, because I just wanted to see him portray this character again, because I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, again, the last time we saw him at the end of Endgame, he was lost, personally. Yeah. He had gone through some personal loss. He'd gotten fat. We saw in Endgame, and he was going off the Guardians of the Galaxy to kind of find himself. And they kind of go through that journey in the first part of the movie of really kind of self-discovery of like, what's my purpose in the world? Asgard, the place is no longer the place. But it is a people now. So, but anyway,
self-discovery for sure.
Yeah, but he's like, my father's dead, my mother's dead, my brother's dead. It's like, what is my purpose in this world? And I think this movie answered that question, which was great. I think he definitely demonstrated not only how important he is in the MCU, but also how important his character is into the future of the universe. Really kind of saved a lot of people's bacon in this movie, with what he did. I think just overall, I really enjoyed it. Again, I like watching him, and I like some of the supporting characters are great. Like Korg, Taika Waititi's version of Korg is just
hilarious.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think, in general, for the audience, if you liked Thor Ragnarok, you will like this.
Yes.
It is not as silly and as quirky as Thor Ragnarok. As Titanium mentioned, there are some much more serious notes and serious subjects in this movie. They go through his relationship with Jane and go through Jane's battle with cancer and, some, other kind of compelling things that have happened across the universe that are a little bit more serious. And look, but this movie was fun. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
Look, it was short. It was a 2-hour movie. It was very quick.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest my biggest disagreement with this movie, or my biggest negative about this movie, is I felt like they cut a lot out of it that probably should have kept in. Like,
there were some scenes we saw behind the scenes footage of them filming that did not make the movie.
Right. I think they cut it down for some reason to make it a lot shorter than what it could have been, and I think that was a mistake. I would like to see a full version of this movie, and it probably would have been a lot better if they had filled in a lot of gaps.
So here's the question. Do you think some of that was because of some of the resource shortages around CGI, resources that they were struggling with?
Some of that could have been that. And
we heard Taika Waititi say, a month ago, 2 months ago, hey, I'm trying to finish the movie. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. So there was probably a lot of pressure to get it done, and maybe they had to cut some things out to get it done.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think that they were under a lot of pressure, and the resources weren't there with COVID and other things. They just weren't there. So I don't think they settled on it, but I think they came to a manageable movie and a time frame, and they put a product that they felt very good about out, but it wasn't what they had in mind to put in front of us from the very beginning. And I think the product that they would have put in front of us from the very beginning wouldn't have been Endgame level or No Way Home level, but it would have
might have been a little better.
Might have been a little better, yeah, absolutely. So, but still, a good movie.
Well, here's the things that we really liked about the movie. Christian Bale and his portrayal of Gorr the God Butcher. And again, this movie was largely based on the Gorr the God Butcher run in the comic books by Jason Aaron, as well as the Mighty Thor run, which came right after that, where Jane Foster becomes Thor. Drew from both of those comic book stories for this movie and really took most of the plot from both of those. Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher, amazing.
Yeah.
He really,
I wanted them to spend, and that was another thing, and it probably got, a lot of his scenes probably got cut. I wanted to see more of him, and I wanted them to spend more time on his character because it was brilliant.
He was really good.
It was brilliant. He wasn't just some overbearing, powerful, mean person. He had a serious, he was possessed by the sword, the all-black sword. He was
Necro sword.
The Necro sword. He was possessed by that sword, and you could feel the struggle, and his motivation was awesome. And you really felt his pain. And I felt like they didn't spend enough time developing that character. And the little that they did was brilliant. I thought he was great.
10 minutes of the movie, we're really kind of developing him as a character. We see him and his daughter stranded on some desolate, dry planet, and they're basically wandering through a desert, and he's praying. He's a devout, worshiper of his God, and he's praying for help, and because his daughter's dying.
Praying for rain,
give me some rain or sustenance. We're dying, and she dies in his arms, and he's very angry. And then, literally moments later, he finds an oasis that happens to have his God there. And he's laughing at him, oh, you're here. Oh, one of my
celebrating because he just killed somebody that was possessed with the Necro sword, and he was celebrating, and they're having this big thing. He's like, man, where were you?
Well, we've been praying to you. And he goes, he's like, I'm your most devout follower. And he's like, oh, there'll be more of you. I'm not worried about it, whatever. And he's like, and the Necro sword basically knows how angry he is, for him letting his daughter die.
He accidentally cuts his hand on it first when he falls, and he realized, and that I think that's when he got possessed by it. But yes, you're right.
Yeah, and then ultimately the sword kind of comes to him, and he ends up killing the god, and makes a statement that look, all gods must die, and that's kind of the main. But the sword is obviously drawing some of his hatred out of him and possess and
Yeah,
basically
absolutely. But he wants to
him.
end other people's suffering that he went through because of a god.
Right.
The false belief of a god caused him to lose his daughter, and it was powerful, man. He does such a great job. What a great villain.
And I do like the use of the Guardians of the Galaxy in this movie. It was a very short part of the early part of the movie, but we kind of see Thor kind of had been traveling the galaxy with them and going from planet to planet to kind of try to help people. Yeah. And it seems like the Guardians have been doing the bulk of the work, knowing that Thor is like reluctant to do anything because he's like doing some inner introspection.
They basically have to like stroke his ego, like we need you to win this in order to get. Yeah, he's going through huge self-discovery. That's another thing that Gorr and the Guardians, not so much the Guardians, their short amount of time in this movie upset me as much as the Gorr thing and the pieces that they cut out. But they're great. I mean, I can't wait for that movie.
Yeah, the Guardians are just fantastic. Again, they were very in the movie briefly in the beginning when they were kind of with Thor. Ultimately, they go their separate ways, and that's when the Guardians are happy to leave Thor to himself, and they go off. But yes, I do believe we're going to get a lot more Guardians here in the next 6 months for sure, with everything that's coming out. The I Am Groot series, the holiday special, Guardians 3 coming out next spring. So we're going to get a lot more of them for sure, and find out where they're going and what they've been up to.
Yeah.
But they were good. I think it was a good use of all of them in the movie. The other great part of this movie, which was I loved having Jane Foster back. The minute she showed up on the screen, you were like, wow.
She looked great. Natalie Portman looked great. And what a great character. And that was probably one of my favorite things about this movie is her arc in this. The way you felt so like bad for her about the cancer and the way she was handling it. And a complete spoiler here, but Darcy shows up. One of my favorite MCU characters.
We find out that Jane's been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and she's in the hospital undergoing chemotherapy, and Darcy's there kind of helping her get through her treatments. And so she does a little cameo in the movie.
She's such a great character. I mean, they got to bring her in more. I mean, she's such a great character. Anyway, I thought Agent, what was his name? Agent
Wu.
Agent Wu and Darcy, they should give them a Disney Plus series, and it could be like the X-Files. Like, I'd watch that. I'd watch
Would you watch it more than Ms. Marvel?
You kidding me? Yeah. Absolutely. That would be awesome. Agent Wu and Darcy as a team, like doing X-Files, like every episode was this weird kind of cosmic or something unusual, superhero-related unusual event, and they're like going in and investigating it. That's a home run.
Yeah, you have plenty of cameos too if you wanted to. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Every episode you bring in somebody else. I think that I don't know.
But having Natalie Portman back was great.
Yes.
We find out she's been suffering with stage 4 cancer. She's going through chemo. Our other friend, Dr. Selvig, has been helping her out, trying to figure out. And then they're like, "Well, the chemo's really not working."
What did I say to you in the movie theater?
Dr. Selvig's the savior of the Marvel universe, or whatever, something like that.
He is the hidden hero of almost every movie he's been in. He's awesome.
Yeah, but we're finding out, and I guess Darcy had mentioned to Jane that maybe it's time to start thinking about some Viking magic, right?
Right.
That hey, if science isn't working, let's think about some Viking. And we're thinking that maybe it's time to go see Thor and the Asgardians and ask them for help. And she's like, "Oh no, it's not that time yet. I can solve this on my own." But then she does, kind of read in some Norse mythology books that she has about Mjolnir and the healing powers of that it grants its possessor. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, maybe I'll go check it out."
And he starts calling to her.
Yeah, we see a scene. Well, we get a lot of history of what happened to Thor and Jane. We get the whole kind of breakup scene.
Yeah.
We see their whole relationship and how they had been together for years. And Thor, obviously he was smitten with her, and he's he's talking to Mjolnir. He's like, you're my best friend. But just so you know, she's like really close to be my second best friend.
You have to look after her.
You have to promise me you'll always look after her.
Yeah.
And that you see like a magic symbol roll over the hammer, and we're just like, oh, this is what happens.
This is what happens.
And so Jane ends up going to New Asgard, which has turned into a tourist destination, right? They're giving tours on flying boats, and there's cruise ships there. There's a golf course there. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. They were opening up a
ice cream store called Infinity Cones.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It's got the big gauntlet in front holding an ice cream cone, and the ice cream store was called Infinity Infinity Cones.
It was great.
That's perfect.
But we see King Valkyrie has really become more of a glorified, tour guide, really, for the most part. She's not really happy with it all. But Jane ends up going there, becoming part of a tour, and they see the broken... or we get the play, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But we see the broken shards of Mjolnir in a bubble, and she stands next to it, and it starts shaking and moving and vibrating, and all the shards kind of come together, and then it cuts away, and we don't see what happens. Again, that was one of the scenes that we had seen them filming in the behind-the-scenes footage, and they just
we did see a lightning bolt come down, but we don't get any of the actual on-scenes. I think a lot of that they cut away.
Yeah, exactly. And this is when Thor had to come back. He knew that Gorr was headed to Asgard to attack, and so he had to come back and save them. So he and because he had found Lady Sif, had gotten her arm cut off, and Gorr's going after Asgard next, and so they end up going back and to save the town. And then we see that big scene from the trailer where Thor's fighting all these shadow minions, and Jane Foster's there with Mjolnir. It was fantastic.
That's a great scene.
I thought the way that they played, Thor's relationship with Mjolnir and his relationship with Stormbreaker. How Stormbreaker was getting jealous of Mjolnir, but now Thor was like wanting Mjolnir, but it was with Jane now, and he's like, I don't know why you would choose her over me, and it's all these other things. That whole thing was pretty good.
Yeah, the way Stormbreaker was getting jealous, it was funny.
Like they were trying to use the Bifrost, and like he used it, and then he zapped himself away, and he came flying back in like broken because Stormbreaker wouldn't take him where he needed to, and that was one of the reasons why they had to put it on the boat. So that was fantastic.
Yeah.
The visit to Omnipotent City was awesome.
Oh, that was spectacular, and so many Easter eggs. We got to talk about more.
The gods that they mentioned, the gods that they saw in the we saw the Great Protector Dragon from Shang-Chi was there.
Yes.
We saw all kinds of Easter eggs, and I'm sure somebody's going to break down the individual gods that are sitting in the audience there and who they are. And
there was a god sitting there, a huge god that was sitting there that looked just like the images that we see of Namor. So he was definitely a Atlantean or one of those gods. He was in full Aztec garb. It just stood out to me because I had just seen the image of the release or leak of image of Namor in his costume. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's the god. There's the Jaguar god, and I forget his name, but that's him. And Bast was there. They showed the god, the Panther god Bast. I thought it was brilliant. I was really cool. That whole scene.
What was it? We had the Yum Yum god or whatever it was.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know, that was weird. But yeah, we saw a lot of the, and I'm sure.
No, it was what are they called? It was a Japanese. It was
the dumplings or whatever.
Yeah, dumplings or
yeah, but I don't know if they're called Yum Yums. I thought they were or whatever.
Dumplings or something.
Yeah.
That was funny.
That was hysterical. But then we get introduced to the person who, and we've seen this in the trailer, the person who holds court over Omnipotent City where all the gods are is Zeus. And, they were going there to raise an army. They wanted to ask for help. They wanted to, talk to the other gods, let them know what was happening, and they wanted to ask for help. And Zeus is there, and it's of course Russell Crowe playing Zeus, and his Greek accent was hysterical. And just, he's like, oh, look at his thunderbolt. It's so fantastic. And in the way he was using it and throwing it around, it's like, that's a cool weapon. We should try to get it, and see if we can borrow it. All these other things is great. All those scenes were fantastic.
Yeah.
Ultimately, some of the fight scenes, we see this in the trailers. They end up Thor ends up throwing the Zeus's thunderbolt into Zeus and gets him right through the chest, and they end up stealing his thunderbolt and end up running away. But that was just such a great little sequence in the movie. That was really fun.
That was fun.
Watch.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
Yeah,
one
but
of my favorite.
They were unable to raise the army, but they did get his thunderbolt, and that was the one thing that they were able to leave out of there with. They end up going to chase Gorr, who they believe had kidnapped all the children of Asgard, which was one of the reasons why they had to find him. All the children of Asgard were taken by Gorr to the Shadow Realm, which is where they believe he was hiding out, and so they fly off in their boat to the Shadow Realm to go fight him, and then they find out that the reason why he's trying to do what he's trying to kill all these gods, but he's trying to find the portal to eternity.
Yeah.
And eternity, and Zeus tells Thor this in Omnipotent City. He's like, he admits he's afraid of Gorr because he's got the Necro Sword and he could kill us all.
Yeah.
And he's looking for the portal of eternity, but he'll never find it because he doesn't have the key.
Right.
And nobody knows what the key is. But we find out in some drawings that Jane finds on the planet that
the key is
Stormbreaker is the key, because the Bifrost is the key to the
opening the door to
eternity, right?
Yeah.
So
eternity is a ancient being.
He's a cosmic being.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One of the, probably one of the top cosmic beings in the Marvel universe, right? And theoretically, what they've said is that anybody who is able to open the portal to eternity and can ask eternity for anything and it will be granted.
Right.
And so they're thinking that he's going to try to go to eternity and ask for all the gods to be killed.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, he's going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So Thor and Valkyrie and Mighty Thor confront him on the Shadow Realm. Great battle, great fight sequence. But he is able to... So Valkyrie gets stabbed by Gorr, very injured, and Thor is trying to whisk everybody away using Stormbreaker and the Bifrost to get them back. And Gorr ends up stealing Stormbreaker from Thor.
Yeah.
And so he has what he needs now to get into the gate of eternity, right?
Yeah.
So, now...
Kind of cool scene. That was a great scene when he empowered all the children with the powers of Thor.
So the one thing before we get there, that's way later on. They end up getting back on the Bifrost to Asgard, and they kind of have to close ranks. And Thor, he only has the Thunderbolt. He doesn't have Stormbreaker anymore.
Right.
And that's when they find out that Jane is basically dying.
Yeah.
That her being the Mighty Thor is keeping her healthy, but it's killing her faster because it's not letting her body naturally heal. And so the doctors basically in Asgard have said, look, if she keeps turning into the Thor using Mjolnir, she's going to die because it's keeping her body from naturally trying to fight the cancer. And Thor basically convinces her, look, you got to let me do this on my own. You can't keep turning into Thor, and it's going to kill you. And she's like, okay, just make sure you come back. But the thing that's kind of weird, he only had Zeus's Thunderbolt, and he used Zeus's Thunderbolt to be able to travel to the gates of eternity.
Yeah, he kneeled down and it created this world
bubble over him, and then it teleported him there.
Yeah.
Number one, how did it do that?
Yeah.
Number two, how did he know it could do that? Anyway, that was kind of weird. But then he goes there, finds all the children. Gorr is using Stormbreaker to open the portal. And you were talking about him empowering all the kids.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a great
Whispered an incantation into the Thunderbolt, and he used his lightning to basically imbue all the children with, temporarily, for a limited time only, the power of Thor.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool, and all the kids were then fighting. And then one of the kids was Heimdall's son.
Yeah, he calls himself Axel, from Axl Rose.
Well, his name's Astrid, but he's going by Axel because he's named after a very cool band that I heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he imbues all these kids with the power of Thor, and they're all slicing down all these shadow beasts, and Thor's fighting against Gorr and the Necro Sword, and he's doing okay, but he's losing.
Yeah.
And Jane ends up showing up.
Yeah.
So she comes as the Mighty Thor. She decides to not heed Thor's advice and come try to save him. How did she get there?
She used. How did she get there?
Again,
That's
another confusing thing that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Because she just appeared in a lightning bolt from...
Just, again, something that just didn't seem consistent. Right? So it's just one of those things I was like kind of weird about. But then the two of them are able to fight Gorr off, combined. They
break the sword.
We have to destroy the sword because that's his source of power. If we destroy the sword, everything else is taken care of.
So Mjolnir consumed the pieces of the sword.
Mjolnir first broke the sword.
Yeah.
And then the pieces of the sword, Mjolnir...
They started to form back together, and Mjolnir kind of gathered them and put them, kind of consumed them into the hammer, and then Jane broke the hammer, destroyed it.
Well, she basically slammed the hammer down, which basically destroyed the pieces of the Necro sword, which was that was actually really cool.
Yeah.
But then the gate was open,
and he goes through it,
and he went through, and they're like, "Oh crap, what now?" So he gives Stormbreaker to Axel, and Axel's able to summon the Bifrost because he's Heimdall's son, and he takes all the kids back home. But then Jane and Thor go follow Gorr into the Gate of Eternity.
At some point, though, Jane she doesn't have the hammer anymore because it's dispersing the pieces of the Necro sword.
She's losing.
She's cancered. Yeah, she's definitely dying.
Dying, right? And look, they go to confront Gorr, and they basically said, "You don't have to do it," and you can do, said you can choose to bring her back.
Yeah. And
they ultimately convince him that bringing his daughter back is more important than killing all the gods.
And he's so infected with the sword. He's so infected.
He's dying as well. Right.
He's dying.
And Jane's dying too. And Thor's like, I'm not going to spend my last moments trying to stop you. I'm going to spend my last moments
with the person
with
I
her.
love.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have a very tearful goodbye. Gorr decides, ultimately, if I bring my daughter back, I'm dying. She's going to be alone. And Thor and Jane say, no, she won't be alone. Basically saying that we'll take care of her.
Yeah.
By the way, his daughter, Gorr's daughter, is played by Thor's real daughter in real life.
Chris Hemsworth's real daughter.
Chris Hemsworth's real daughter.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
But then
great little actress.
Yeah.
I thought she did a great job.
Bring his daughter back. He brings his daughter back. They have a greeting, and she kind of forms herself out of eternity, which is actually really cool. And then we get kind of the ending scene of so Jane dies and she goes off into the kind of
dust,
the gold dust, Odin and Odin and Frigga and everybody else that had died. And then Thor and the little girl go back, and then we see this really cool scene at the end of the movie of
he's cooking her pancakes and stuff. She's a cute little girl.
Cooking her pancakes, and say, hey, it's time to go. We got to go and meet all the little kids. And she's like, I don't want to go.
She shoots lasers out of her eyes at him, and he blocks it with the pan. He's like, come on, this is ruined. This is brand new.
Yeah. So theoretically,
stepdad.
Yeah, he's raising her as his own, and she's wielding storm. So they go out, and there's this field. There's these cute little kids, and then there's these demons, and they're they have to go defeat the demons and protect the little children. And she's got Stormbreaker, and he's got Mjolnir, and they're fighting together. And they're known as her name is Love. So they're known as Love and Thunder.
Born from eternity.
So
she's definitely got powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really cool ending.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. What a great, very departed from the comics, because I don't think Thor raised a kid or had a kid.
No, this is all new. So there is a character that is Eternity's child called Love in the Marvel comics, and so maybe that's who they're basing this off of.
It's pretty cool. I like it. I can see her being a young Avenger, part of that young Avenger.
Hey, we got to keep the Hemsworth family employed. For decades to come.
This is great. You want to talk about the end credit
scenes? Yeah, 2 end credit scenes. First one was the best one. We go back and see Zeus in Omnipotent City.
He's not dead.
Right. His wounds are being tended to. He's still alive. But he's basically talking about how, our subjects don't appreciate us anymore. There was a time when they feared us, but now they don't any longer. They just, they don't even believe in us anymore. And he says, it's about time they fear us once again.
Well, they look up to the skies and they worship their superheroes.
Right. He said, yeah, but it's time that our subjects feared us like they did before.
Yeah.
And he said, right, son? And we see Hercules, and he says, yes, father. Right?
Yeah.
And it's Roy Kent from freaking Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Right? So
I forget his first name, but it's something Goldstein.
Yeah.
Something Goldstein.
The guy who plays Roy Kent in Ted Lasso is in the
Buff.
comic book accurate Hercules costume. Oh my! With his mace, which is just fantastic.
Which is as strong as Mjolnir, apparently.
Yeah.
That looked awesome. I think that was great. He said something about, and the first one is Thor, Odin's son. So I guess they have a long history in the comic books, Thor and Hercules, of battling and being very competitive against each other. Eventually, Hercules becomes part of the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
So he's a good guy, but he's also very competitive with Thor, and they fight a lot. I think it's a great character to bring in, and we were kind of hoping they would bring it. And if you have fantastic. Thor, and it's been this long, Thor, he's been such an integral counterpart to Thor in a lot of the comics that it just made sense.
Yeah, it was a great end credit scene. I'm glad they introduced the Hercules character.
I heard nothing about that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the casting's spot on. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, he's going to be great.
And then we got another end credit scene. It was basically Jane showing up at the gates of Valhalla. So she had died in battle. So she ended up being welcomed into Valhalla. We get Heimdall is there, and he's like, hey, Jane Foster, it's great to see you. Said this is Valhalla, and you're
welcome to stay with us and with the gods.
Welcome to stay with us. And I don't know where they're going with that. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the future that holds. I don't know why they showed it to us. I don't know if it has...
What a great way to put that character on a back burner and perhaps bring her back out, or perhaps
it could
reincarnation.
But it could have been maybe, hey, we just wanted to show that she went off to a really cool place and got to hang out with Odin and Frigga, and
it had me thinking for a while. It had me what does that mean?
I don't know that there weren't any.
Maybe there was hidden something. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was just like
to show that she'd gone someplace cool.
That Jane Foster lived a tough life, and she definitely well deserved.
Right.
Great.
Awesome movie. I mean, again, I really enjoyed it. Lots of fun. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out in the theaters. It's worth watching.
I'll definitely see it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Great movie. Well, Professor, let's ring the bell. Great show. School is over.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or @supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out.
Thanks again, YouTube. Really appreciate the likes, the comments, and the subscriptions. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Black Viper. Everyone likes this game. Haters gonna hate. And I know you can't wait to see the Black Viper. Round and round she goes, hardly no one knows. In her black pantyhose, Black Viper.